So Journey Together is en route to be one of the more iconic Scarlet and Violet sets. However, who will really be able to secure some products? And also, there's a bit of a discussion today about Pokemon booster boxes because it almost feels that there's this weird transition from booster boxes becoming accessible, and it makes you think if we will actually be able to secure any Journey Together booster boxes as time goes on. But I'm going to be speaking more on that in just a second. Though Journey Together has some pretty exciting cards, and I thought I'd do a bit of a deep dive within the set, explore the artworks, the cards, and what there is to offer. And after that, I'm going to give my own thoughts on the set and where I think it will go. All right, so Journey Together, man, this set is pretty exciting. And I have to say that it's exciting in terms of the artworks, but it's not exciting in the terms of being able to secure some product, because I am kind of thinking of booster boxes lately, right? And I'm going to be getting into Journey Together, but booster boxes in particular, it kind of feels like they're becoming a little bit of the hard product to get. And it kind of feels like, is Pokemon transitioning a little bit away from booster boxes? Maybe not fully, because booster boxes are such an integral part of collecting, but what I mean by that is it seems Pokemon really likes putting out promo collection boxes and, you know, ETBs and all this, and it feels like booster boxes are getting harder and harder to find. I mean, Surging Sparks booster boxes are super difficult to find, and same with Journey Together, it's really, really challenging. So I'm going to be interested to see, will a lot of stock just need to get put into the market to meet this new demand? And also, if this new demand is going to be here to stay, do we need more product to cater to that? Because right now, with current product distribution, it's kind of still doing it for the current audience of what we had before this boom. But right now, it feels like we really need more product to match the current market demand. But you know what can also happen? What can happen is if Pokemon starts printing to demand, and then all these people slowly start going away, which came for the hype period, we're going to have so much product. We're going to have like a little bit of a Battle Styles Vivid Voltage scenario, which personally I don't think is too bad. I think that's better to have that than have this where no one can get product. But regardless, I want to talk about Journey Together, go through the set, because I do think it is still a pretty cool set, and it is going to be an interesting set to open if you can get your hands on some product. But check out this Articuno, man. One of the more unique artworks of this. I really like the design. I would have loved this to be a special illustration rare. I kind of feel this Articuno and the Groudon both deserve the SIR treatment, but they didn't get it. But nonetheless, I do think this card is going to be one of the more desired cards that a lot of collectors are going to try kind of secure. Though whether or not it's going to perform well, it depends, because, you know, I don't have any pull rate data to go from, but depending if it is pretty easy to pull or if it is a little bit more generous with the pull rates, I still think this will be one of the more in-demand illustration rares. Moving on to the Iono and Wattrel, I really like this card, and I think this card, I like the design, man. I like these fluorescent colors when you get them, and, you know, when you look at the Pokemon card. Another thing that a lot of people don't talk about as well, when you're actually opening packs and you see a card like this, it's such a striking thing to get. And, you know, that's one of the more interesting things about opening Pokemon packs. You know, sometimes when you pull cards like this, you don't even need to know that they're valuable or not, because what it does, it just makes the pack opening experience so exciting. So I really love artworks like this. And of course, within Generation 9, Iono is a super loved character, so I'm going to be looking out for this one. I really like this artwork. Now, another one is the Iono and Killowattrel, and I have to say, this one is also cool. These two as a pair are really, really awesome, and I do kind of rate it so far. And I do think they're going to perform pretty well. It just depends on where the singles will go and how people are going to be acquiring their Journey Together. I think a lot of people are going to have to buy loose packs, because I can see even in Australia, we can pre-order some loose packs, but then again, when you buy loose packs, you are buying a little bit more expensive than if you bought a booster box, right? But I do like how Journey Together has this unique theme regarding the artworks, right? I do think that there's going to be a lot of people who like this set. Obviously, Pokemon have decided to really create high quality sets also when the demand is there. So we are in a tricky period, because, you know, if we did have a Shrouded Fable-like set kind of release in this period, it would be pretty interesting to see. And I think we kind of need one, right? Because right now, the sets are such high quality and we have such high demand, it's almost like a perfect sandstorm, because if we didn't have the high quality and we had the high demand, something would level out. But we got two things that are just adding more fire to one another, right? Because if you've got the high quality and you've got the high demand, the demand just goes through the roof even more. So hopefully there's going to be something that kind of helps this set calm down. And obviously that is going to be more product, but also with reprints, right? Because I know a lot of people talk about reprints and all that. It's kind of making me wonder, like, Surging Sparks, we still need a bit more product of that, right? Twilight Masquerade is getting hard to find. Is there going to be some Twilight Masquerade reprints, right? All these things are so important important for collectors at the moment because Paldean Fate's another example. That is so hard to find at the moment. You know, you do need to pay overs to get Paldean Fates. So are we going to be getting some Paldean Fates? Like, we don't even know which sets we need. We still need Prismatic Evolutions. No one can get that, but we can't even get Journey Together. Then we're going to have Destined Rivals. Who's going to be able to get that? There's just so many things happening right now, and I think it's getting pretty overwhelming for a lot of people, right? Now, moving on to the Meowth illustration rare. This is really cool. Meowth is a very beloved Pokemon. Generation 1 has that connection to Team Rocket. Very unique. Also was, I wouldn't call it a mascot of the franchise of Generation 1, but I do think it's up there with the more iconic Pokemon when we're talking about not third stage evolutions, right? You know, you've got Eevee, you've got Pikachu, and then you got probably Meowth and Clefairy as well, because if you didn't know this, right, Clefairy was actually going to be one of the mascots for Generation 1. Then it's become more about Pikachu and Eevee. But nonetheless, I do think this Meowth will have a very big demand for it because of those reasons. Now, moving on to some of the special illustration rares within the set, the Hops Zacian is one of my favorite cards of the reveal so far. Really rating this card, man. Now, I actually have a lot of connections to this card because I love the Sword and Shield game. This card for me is just super nostalgic for that reason. I really want to actually get this card. But nonetheless, the artwork is so cool, and I love how Zacian is there. It's pretty cool because I think Zacian hasn't had the best representation in the TCG. We did get them in Crown Zenith, and they were great artworks. But really, for that era, I feel like we should have got a VMAX alt art, right? And we're kind of getting that paid off right now in the Scarlet and Violet era. So this is a really cool card. Now, also, we can see the Noibat illustration rare. I do think this one is pretty cool as well. Very unique artwork. We had the Noivern alt art in Evolving Skies. Didn't perform too well. So I don't think this Noibat will perform crazily, but I think it will be an interesting card that a lot of people want in their collection. Now, moving on to one of the ones that I think is absolutely unreal, and I do think this will be the most expensive chase card for Journey Together, the Salamence. And I have to say that this is one of the most cool artworks of Journey Together, and probably I think this is going to be the most expensive card of Journey Together. Now, the reason for that is because Salamence hasn't had the most representation within the TCG. We've had Roaring Moon, but we haven't had Salamence, which is such a throwback to Generation 3 days, pseudo legendary, you know, super unique, and the artwork is really cool. Colors and everything, how it's blowing fire. I really think this card is going to perform well because of those connections to a lot of people from the Hoenn days, Generation 3 days. Don't forget that that kind of generation that grew up with Generation 3 also has probably the more adult-like money to be spending on their hobbies, and you know, Salamence is a huge favorite, so I'm expecting some interesting things with this card. Now, moving on to the Lillies Cleifary. Now, this is actually a really unique artwork. I really rate this one, man. I think that you can actually see how this one's performing for battle partners right now. And if I pull this right now on TCG Player, you can see this card was selling for 545 USD. Now, this is the Japanese version, right? If we pull that right now, it's selling for 413. I don't think the English version is going to get anywhere near this price point, though I do think that this is still going to be a very desired card because the artwork is just gorgeous, man. You know, the green and pink kind of contrasting colors really work well, and I think this card is also going to be pretty expensive, but of course, we're going to have to see when it kind of gets released, right? Now, moving on to the Volcanion Special Illustration Rare, of course, one of the more unique Pokemon being a water and fire type. Really awesome artwork, man. This is really in your face. You can immediately tell this is going to be a very desired card just by looking at it. I think the silver borders really work well with this artwork as well, so I'm going to be interested to see where this travels over time. I'm very interested to see the price points of Journey Together. We won't know that until it kind of gets released and we see where the price points kind of level out. We can see Prismatic Evolutions is quite expensive. All those special illustration rares are so much, and that's because it's so hard to get the product. So are we going to see the same thing with Journey Together? And of course, because Journey Together is so hard to find, and you know, pre-orders and all this, it's going to be interesting to see where the kind of prices of the special illustration rares go, because as you know, the reason why Prismatic Evolutions is so expensive is because no one can really get product, and we're kind of having a similar thing with Journey Together, but hopefully more product comes out so people can secure some of these cards because I think they're looking really awesome. So with Journey Together around the corner, it's leaving some exciting things for the hobby. However, as we go more towards the end of the Scarlet and Violet era, I have been thinking more about illustration rares and how much they have impacted the hobby. And I think when the dust settles, there will be certain illustration rares which stand the test of time, and those exact 9 illustration rares can be seen right here. Within this video, I look over the 9 illustration rares which I believe will become super iconic when we move on to Generation 10. Click the video that's appearing on screen right now to learn more about it, and I'll see you on that video.